I'm recording on this computer. Wait, now it's recording.
Okay.
Now it's recording,
Okay.
and it says stop live stream. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna start it again just to see if we can go live.
Okay.
All right. So live on Facebook. Zoom, preparing live stream. There we go. Now I think we're going live.
All right.
It's loading. It's loading. I think it's a Facebook thing.
Hmm.
It keeps on saying, it keeps on loading on Facebook. So we're recording and we're live, but it's
Okay.
live preparing, and I don't think people can see us yet.
Okay.
So it says it's kind of like, you know, this loading thing,
Yeah.
that wheel. It keeps on doing that on Facebook, which is weird because it's always been real quick. The other times that I've done it, it's always just gone live real quick. I wonder why it's taking so long.
The universe wants us to pause.
The universe wants us
I
to
don't
what?
know.
Okay, so it gave me saying it's my internet connection, but I have good internet connection. Let me go to 5G. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I switched the internet connection to the 5G one instead of the 2G one. See if that's it. And so I'm going to stop it again, and I'm going to start it again. Stop live stream, and then start live on Facebook again. Clear this mechanism. Next. I was preparing. I'm so sorry about this. I don't know what's going on. It's not. It just keeps on loading on the Facebook page. In the internet connection here, I'm doing it in the same place I did it last time. I'm using the same internet connection. I'm not sure why it's not loading, but we can just start, and then if it doesn't show live, I'm just gonna put it live, and I'll put it back on. I'll put it on Facebook anyways and on YouTube.
Okay.
That makes sense?
That
Because I don't want to waste your time.
oh, no worries.
So we can just start, and hopefully by at some point it'll go live, and if it doesn't, then I'll post it live. I mean, I'll post it on Facebook.
Okay.
That make sense? Yeah.
Do it.
All right. Okay, so we're recording. We're recording here, and we're recording the audio. So we We got this. And it's still loading on the live, so at some point it'll go live.
Awesome.
So I'm for people, if people are watching, and if not, if they're going to be watching on the replay, I'm so excited because I have Francine on the podcast today. And Francine, how do you pronounce the last name, the new last name?
Has changed because I just got married about 6 weeks. So it's Matthew. If you Google me right now, it'll be like Francine Matthew everywhere, and that is spelled a little different. But now it is Favret, Francine Favret. How cool is that? 2 F's.
It is. It's so cool. It's so cool. And it was so cool watching you through this whole process while you were getting married, and your kids went, and his children went, and your sons went, and it was great. It was so fun watching it.
It was beautiful. Thank you. Lots of fun. The weather was perfect. It was just, it was magical. So I thank you.
Yeah, so I'm super excited. For this conversation, because we've had some really amazing conversations too. But what we're doing that I'm doing with every episode is we're getting the ego out of the way first, right? Before we start talking about spirituality, right? Yeah, because it's gonna wanna, like you say this a lot, like the monkey brain, right? It's gonna wanna creep in there. Yeah, exactly. So tell us a little bit, because I know that you've been a coach for many years, right? You were in the corporate scene for many years as well. And doing some public speaking as well, and now you're doing this amazing with the Lions Club. So tell us a little bit about yourself, from corporate to coaching.
I'll talk about the corporate career. I was in corporate America for about 25 years. For about 19 years, I worked for a Fortune 500 company in the oil and gas industry, and knew probably about 2 or 3 years before I left, I kind of got the calling, what I wanted to do when I grew up. But mainly I was in leadership. I helped other leaders kind of go to the next level. I had my own team of women. So I had a real passion for leadership, servant leadership, helping them go to the next level. And I guess if the ego would say what my talent was, is that I could see potential right away. And that really excited me. So that's where I got my love for coaching. And I kind of mentioned this in one of my articles. I went through a divorce almost 10 years ago. And, you get back in the dating scene, and that's a little different in the 40s, right? And I'm like, well, maybe it's not the guy, maybe it could be me. And I can't fix the guy anyway, and that's freaking exhausting, but I can sure fix me. So at that point, I started diving into the self-help books more. I was always into personal development. I was always drawn to that in psychology and mindset. But I really started taking a deep dive into myself and more into the spiritual element, and started removing those layers, and hired a few coaches, and made friends with a lot of friends that were coaches. So that helped out a lot too. And stepped out of that.
With them? You were already friends with them before?
Yes. And started when I stepped out of the corporate career, a little bit before. So, and people always say that you should hang out with people that are like-minded. Not always true. You should totally hang out with people that are not like-minded sometimes, because I would have never grown as much as I've grown now. So it was great to have that different mindset. Started attending Tony Robbins events in 2014, did it in 2015, did other events. So backing up a little bit, I did step out of my corporate career. And that was really scary, because I was having that safety net, right? So now you got to figure this shit out. And an employee mindset is different than entrepreneur mindset. Although I always felt like I had that in me. My dad was an entrepreneur, his family. So I felt like I always had it in me, but being wired as the employee for so many years, I had to unlearn a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And with unlearning, there was a lot of growing pains because the ego that you're attached to and that persona and that image wants to stay. And so the ego, some people say not to say my ego, just say the ego. But sometimes I'll say my ego because it was badass. It kept me safe. It served a purpose. To break up with it, I actually wrote a love letter like in 2016 and let my son read it. And he's like, Mom, you need to post this. And it was the very first article I ever posted. And I did it in LinkedIn. I didn't think about it. I probably had 10 misspelled words, a lot of grammar errors. And I probably had the most response from that first article because it resonated with many people. But it was actually just a love letter, and it wasn't anything that I was ever going to publish. And so that kind of started me on the writing thing.
A love letter to the ego, or like a love letter
to the ego.
Oh, like, wow, that's awesome. That's a great idea.
Yeah, like thank you for being with me, for so long. What they say, we do that split between maybe 4 and 7 years old, whatever reason, right? And it could even be earlier, they're saying. But it served this purpose, but I needed it to just release that grip on me. Not saying that it needs to go fully away. I can grab it when I need it, because it does serve a purpose at times, maybe, who knows. But I want to be in control of it. I don't want it to be in control of me. So I can talk about the ego topic for days. I just love it. It's really fascinating. So the host speaks. Yeah.
And I love listening to you talk about the ego, because you're so many like insightful ways, that so many like things that, because we hear about this and we read about this, but everybody has a different spin, and I love your spin on it. Every time we talk, there's something new.
Yeah. And my ego, like I said, was badass. It was, awesome. Going into the speaking thing, when I first got kind of the calling about 5 or 6 years ago, I was doing a workshop. It was really supposed to be just a monthly meeting with my team. And when I was diving into the books and the self-development, I'm like, maybe these ladies might want something like this, right? And then I was like nervous about it. I'm like, I don't know if they'll think it's weird. I didn't ask my boss about it. I just turned it into kind of a mini workshop, and one by one, they were like, we want more of this. So I remember after the first one, all day and even all night, I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. And it was without a shadow of a doubt, this is what I want to do. But then I'm like, okay, I'm scared shitless to talk in front of people.
Which is important, right? It's something that you would need.
Have a problem. And, but I have to do it because it was way bigger than me. It wasn't even about me. So I hired a coach, attended some, speaker workshops, a boot camp. Actually, Joe Williams, who was Tony Robbins' sidekick for a while, and he did a lot of, I think, UPWs with him. I trained with him for about a week, and and his training was more about being an authentic speaker. And I had a coach tell me one time that it's not about being polished, but it's about connecting to your audience. And so that's how I got into that. And so besides getting married recently, I have 3 sons, and I love them to death. They're all different, and my oldest one, believe it or not, is 31 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't believe it. I couldn't believe it.
And it's really cool. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's awesome. And how was that? How did you find that transition? And I'm sorry if you see me going like this. It's just that my daughter usually helps me with the audio, and she's in. For people that we were talking about this earlier, but for people that are listening, if you look at me, I'm really listening and I'm really into it. But it's just that I'm actually dealing with everything today because my daughter's in Puerto Rico. So so usually what the things that she's doing, just I want to make sure that the audio's there and everything's there. But how was that? I'm curious, how did you find that transition from employee to entrepreneur in the beginning? I know that you talked about how, it's a completely different mindset, but I've been in both, and I understand what you mean, and I guess I'm curious to see how.
I'll be honest with you, it was painful. Not everybody will say that. For me, it was painful, and I think for a lot of people, if they're honest, it was a huge wake-up call because I had a lot of support where I was and a lot of resources. And I was used to being able to, get a team together and help me with this and that. And when especially going into like a coaching business and wanting to help people, I did that for free for so many years, right? Mm-hmm. And charge people, I'm like, that feels icky to me. So I had to get that straight in my head. Okay, so I had to have that therapy. And I was also, and I think this is where the ego and I had a struggle. But it was painful because I was used to making things happen and seeing the results a lot quicker. And for the first year, I wasn't seeing a lot of results. And so that right there. And then, by the second year, it grew a little. And by the third year, and so about year 3, it started really picking up. But the first year was rough. I wanted to quit 100 times.
But
I was like, I don't want to go work for anybody else. I have to make this work. I love this.
And you realize, you're like, wait, nobody's paying me unless I create value, right? Unless I create value, there's not going to be a check coming in, like a regular check or anything like that. This is it, right? What's that saying? The buck stops on you or something, right? Like you're it. So with coaching, I know that you've been coaching for a couple of years, and it's something that you really love, and you can tell that you do it out of your heart. How's that been? How has that been for you in this? Because I know that and we'll get into this in a little bit, but the spiritual side. But you're going through some spiritual awakening. You're going through. You've been going through it. So how has? Because I guess the question is, I know this is coming from the heart, right? This your coaching career, and so how has this been? How has it been for you? Like this kind of like.
I would tell you at the beginning, I just kind of threw a net out, and everybody goes, find your niche, however you say your niche. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, I just want to do it all. I want to do relationships. I want to do business. I want to do the spiritual part. And they were like, no, you need to, zone in. And for a year, that was probably why I wasn't very successful. I was coaching a lot of people free, and that was cool. But I wasn't getting a lot of big clients. And up until I hired a marketing coach that coached me on how to drill it down and to find it. So I like working with business owners because I was used to working with that leadership. And so it took a while, and I love what I do now. I love the people that I'm attracting for whatever reason. I was really blessed this year to get those people. But what I found was a lot of them wanted the spiritual part. I needed it, right? So we can coach mindset all day long. But if you still have a lot of baggage where, there's a lot of stuff that's stirring up where you need to just let go and forgive. There was a lot of gentlemen that I coached, and for whatever reason, I coach a lot of men. It might be the female male dynamic, I would mention gratitude probably on the third call. And there was a few of them that were like, you know, just alpha males going, I'm not doing this gratitude thing. You know, that's all cute and everything, but I'm not doing this. And then they realized that what a lot of things that I was telling them was working. So I remember about a year and a half ago, this gentleman, I guess he was close to 60 years old. He called me. I was traveling about an hour away, and he called me and he's like, Francine, I cried all night long last night and I haven't felt stuff and I can't tell you how long. And I'm like, what did you do? He's like, I did the darn gratitude thing.
That damn gratitude thing that you told us.
So, and there was a few more that had the same experience. So it's something that we should probably teach school, right? But yeah, there's been different things that have woke me up, I guess. A year and a half ago, I lost my sister to cancer. She was 57 years old. She found out she had stage 4 with 2 months to live. And I went on her last 2 months, that journey, and she lasted 2 months. And to see that process and go through that, and to see, my family and my parents go through that pain, that stirred up a lot of stuff. And, there was a part of me that was like, and I guess this might have been the ego thing going, I'm spiritual, I'm going to be okay. We're going to just connect on the other side and I'll be fine. And what happened is I got really angry, which was surprising to me, but anger is just a cover up for pain.
Mm-hmm.
It was a cover up for pain. And I wasn't pissed off at God. I wasn't even pissed off at it was easier to be pissed off and angry than to feel those emotions. So I just kind of stuffed it. And whenever you put things aside and you don't deal with it and you're trying to numb, because that's probably what I was trying to do, it comes back even stronger, right? So it's like, it's almost like a teacher. Those emotions are like a teacher. And so I had to get real with myself. And my husband, Jacques, he was aware enough to point that out to me in a loving way. And I just faced it and went through it instead of just avoiding it. And that was one of my biggest breakthroughs, was just to go through it and be okay with it and not make it wrong.
Wow. Yeah, and that's it's not easy. It's not easy. It's going through that process, and I imagine seeing it, because I kind of like gone through something not similar, but I've had first cousin that was like my brother, but it was something instant. It wasn't, we weren't watching him. We weren't watching it happen. He had a heart attack, and I don't know where it was on, but I can't imagine watching that process. That'll definitely get to that spiritual part, right? To having to face those demons, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think before we can start into that spiritual, which I'm so looking forward to it, there's something that you're doing that I think is amazing. It's beautiful. It's like I love it, and I really want to talk about it. Yeah. Because you can just see, like I can just see you post something on Facebook, or you post a picture or something that you created, a poster or something. You can just see the light through it, because it's like you can tell that it's done with so much like love, and that's what it's called, right? The Alliance of Love. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, back in June. And I have to give some credit to our mastermind that you and I are both in, because it's such a loving group of people. And I just remember seeing people just supporting people a lot. And when somebody was doing a live video and you just saw just the vulnerability and the pain come through, people would start tagging each other, you know, so we could all see it and then support that person and give that person a lot of love. And I'm like, this is an alliance of love. This is
Wow.
what we are. We're just like these loving people that want to love up on people that are going through something. And it's giving them some type of peace. And then I'm like, huh, maybe I need to do something with that. And so this was in June, and I mentioned it to a friend, and she's like, I want to be a part of that if you do it. And I'm like, really? And then I remember mentioning it again in our group, and you said, I want to be a part, you know, and I mentioned it to a few other people. So you know, I felt the universe kind of poking me like, you know, it's time to do something. And there was a little resistance because I'm like, who am I? Like, where do I even start? And I said, well, I'm just going to get guided. I'm just going to get really grounded in this one and not just throw mud against the wall and hope that it sticks, because this is really important to me. And it's not even about me, Raphael. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
driving it, and it's for everybody else. So we're really, you know, I'm anxious to see where it goes. But I think that's what I want to do. Is at one point I was thinking about this while I was driving, which I get some of my best ideas.
When you're driving,
Yeah, when I'm driving, who knows this, you know, I'll test this out, but I kind of want to just put it out there and maybe once a week have somebody share a testimony, and then the rest of us at some point go and love up on this person that's sharing their vulnerable story. But I'm going to definitely go first before I get others to do this. And we do it maybe once a week or something. That's sort of what I'm thinking, but of course I want other people to, you know, share their stories or what they went through whenever they want. And then I'll give some insight here and there. And we're just going to see where it goes, but I feel a lot of good energy from it.
yeah, yeah. I think it's amazing. I think it's I don't know, just the name, Alliance of Love, and now hearing how you got to it. I mean, like how you got to get to that name. It's I can tell it's a beautiful project, and I definitely want to be part of it. And I definitely want to. There's a lot of other people that we know that that I know are going to love being part of it. Um, and I think it's an awesome idea. And you're thinking of doing Zoom. I saw that you were going to do Zoom calls as well, like every month.
Yeah,
Or
I'm glad you mentioned that. I want everybody to get to be able to meet each other, not just, you know, this is not like a mastermind. Who knows, something might develop later down the road, but it's more about us coming together to get to know each other, just like we do in our mastermind, with kind of splitting up into smaller groups called Home Pods. I want this to be there's no pressure. There's no, like, if you didn't make it, you know, we're going to look at, it's whoever wants to join and have that extra support. And then we kind of bond and get to know each other more and see where we can help out. So yeah, I'm thinking once a month we'll do that.
I love it. And how did you get to that idea? Like, did they just come up to you, or you were thinking, you know what, maybe we gotta, or is there another, like what you say, another tap?
As I was writing it came to me. As I was writing, this is what this page is about. It came to me.
Wow.
So it really, me just writing it, a lot of my writing is just something kind of coming through. It's not always me because I'm not that smart, trust me.
Yeah, you are. But I get what you're saying, but yeah, you are. And you're writing a book too, right?
Yep. I'm writing a book, and then I have another book in mind. So this one, I'm cheating a little bit because it's just going to be a lot of content that I've already written for blogs, just kind of categorizing it. And because I feel like I don't want to waste it. It's got a lot of content. So right now I'm just sort of at the editing stages. And my next book is going to be about outside influences. And that's probably what I'm going to call it. and it's not just people, and I'll probably cover that can influences in either a negative or positive way. A lot of times our community or family dynamic, but it's going to be the outside influences, the monkey bullshit. That's really not our thoughts, and kind of cover that. So
Yeah, yeah, and some of the best books that I've written are things that have already been written. Like for example, like I don't know if you know Tim Ferriss.
heard of
Right.
him. I
So
haven't read any of his stuff though.
Tim Ferriss, he got a book. It was called. There's some other books like he does like the 4-Hour Work Week and 4-Hour Chef, and that um, those are books that he wrote. But there's one. It's called Tools of Titans, and that is a book just about. He has a podcast, and it's basically about small interviews with the people that he's interviewed. He just asked them like a couple of questions, and it's them answering those questions. So it's like 2 or 3 pages per person. So he's interviewed like 400 people. So the book is like, like pretty big. But
Yeah.
and it's a great book because you can, you can kind of like get a feel for a lot of different people. So in your case, like if your blogs that you write, you can kind of get a feel for where you were at that stage, and people that are at that stage can,
Yes,
when they're reading it.
definitely. That
Yeah.
is very true.
Yeah, yeah. And the other book was what? Chicken Soup for the Soul. You remember that book?
I do.
That was like a bunch of stories of a bunch of other people, right? Like motivating stories of people.
Yeah, was
But
that
it was
Jack Canfield?
Jack Canfield. Yeah. Yeah, and then he just kept on writing a bunch of other Chicken for the Soup for everything, right? Chicken Soup for the Soul for like writers, Chicken Soup for the Soul for teenagers, for parents, for
that really took off.
yeah, yeah.
And what
Yeah.
a great name. So
I know, right? And he was saying that he got that name when he was taking a shower or something. He was like, because he was like, which today I'm a little, I caught a cold during the holidays, but I'm still a little, I'm trying not to cough a lot, but but he was saying that I think he had a cold, and he was like, what do you get when you're when you're not feeling good? You get some chicken soup, right? So it's like chicken soup for the soul. I love that.
That resonates with everybody. That's
yeah, yeah. So you're doing this Alliance of Love without any. You don't have any outcome. You're not thinking of any. It's coming through you. Is it because so? Is that right?
Yeah, it's coming through me, and I'm getting ideas and kind of mapping it out as it comes through me, as I get the ideas. But sort of what I mentioned to you, I think long run, it may be some type of mastermind or group thing. And I'm thinking I want people to share their testimonies in a safe and feel very safe without being pressured. And there's a few people that I'm probably going to kind of poke at and send a message, because I know some people that have amazing testimonies that have not shared. And then I also want to invite people that are coaches or like people in the spiritual realm, and I would love for you to share your story of your awakening.
Yeah.
And just so I may do some interviewing or have people come on and share their stuff. So that's sort of it.
I love it. I love that. I think that we were talking about this the other day. I think that some of us are like because I feel like that's what this is too. Like this isn't something that I don't feel like I'm doing this. I feel like it's doing itself through me, right? It's like through all of us, through you right now, like us right now. Like everybody that's been coming on and that are people that are gonna come on, and I feel like there's something going on in the universe where we're all kind of like everybody's taking their like you said, like your ego was a badass. Like it's like the soul is taking the badass egos, and they're going like, you know what? Step aside, and this is how I'm gonna channel this or something like that. Wow.
Yes, we're free now.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And although it comes out, and it's still there, we have control of it. But yeah, once you start just peeling those layers off, and it's not always it's not always easy, but it's rewarding, and there is some pain, but once you go through it, it's so freaking beautiful. It's so transformational. I
it,
see
it,
not only in me but other people. That's why I say it so passionately.
yeah, no, and I feel you. Like, it's something that it might be one of those things, like it's like 60 or 80% like not easy, hard, is like challenging, but then that tiny moment, or like, it'd be like 80%, that 20% is just so worth it, right? It's just so worth going through it.
Yes. So anybody that is going through something really dark right now, they call it the dark soul of the night. Been there a few times.
Yeah, a few times.
A few
So can
times.
you tell us a little bit about your story, or like a little bit about how it has started, and because we've had great conversations about this, about your story, and where it's gone, where it's led you, right?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it came, some of it came through going through the divorce and getting back in the dating game, and meeting Jacques, who is now my husband, and going, oh my God, this is a great guy. I don't want to screw this shit up. Um, what do I need to do? And for a long time, I tried to be something that was not me. And he was probably like, well, who's that? I was dating this. Um, and just refining myself. So there was even pain in such a beautiful thing as me finding him, trying to be something that wasn't me, trying to be perfect, because I was so like, I can't screw this up. Because if I screw up a relationship, then I'm not good enough. And then if I'm not good enough, then what? You know? So all of that. So that was a phase of it. Um, Having some family members that have emotion. I won't get. It's kind of private, so I won't get too much into this because I want to respect their privacy. But having close loved ones with emotional challenges, um, that definitely propelled me on a whole nother level, helping them and then seeing the world a little differently and having so much freaking compassion, so much more compassion. And then life throwing me some curveballs so I could go through it to even be able to relate to some of the stuff. Um, and then just going through, you know, leaving the job and starting my own career. That was a painful part of it. And then, again, losing a loved one. So all of that, and then a few other things, but those were the big ones that come to mind. That unless there's something else I mentioned to you, because I could be forgetting, but those are the big
Oh,
ones that
yeah,
I
no, and I don't want you to go into anything that you don't want to go
know.
into.
But
Yeah, yeah.
if it doesn't pertain to anybody else, I'll talk about it. If it's just me, I don't mind talking. But if it involves someone else, I just
I understand that. Yeah,
protect that privacy. But
yeah.
um, yeah, relationship stuff for sure. That'll stretch the shit out of you, and it's supposed to. But a
Hmm.
lot of people give up too quick.
Hmm. It's just that path, right? It's just I feel like they say like growing pain, like there's people say like growing pains, so it's like that when you're that growth, right? Or that moment, let's say with your career, just stepping out into something new and realizing this isn't what I thought it was going to be, right? And then just not giving up and just moving forward. It gets you to a point where it's like that tipping point, right? It gets to that point where you start releasing those
Yeah,
layers, like you talk about. I love how you talk
yeah.
about the layers.
And
There's
it is. It's like
those
peeling an
layers.
onion. It's like peeling the onion, peeling the layers. And this year, probably 6 months ago, maybe, I just really surrendered. and just went what I call my room where I meet the divine and go, I went, okay, what do I need to do? And they were like, just love. And I'm like, that's all I need to do? Like, I just need to love. I can do that. That's easy. So what else? Don't judge and just love. And I was working with a few teams that it was getting a little frustrating. So that was another part of it.
I love that. I love this what you're saying. Your room that you call your room. You call that your room, like when you're
yes.
just when you feel like you're it's just you and the divine. I love that. Yeah. You call that you're in your room.
It got really dark at one point, and I'm like, I'm gonna go to my room, and I'm like, all right, it's getting a little tough out here. I'm hanging on. And again, without going to too many details, without bringing somebody else in, I'll keep those details out. But it was a painful experience, and you know, and it was probably a dark soul of the night type thing, where you're like, you know, you got to keep on, you know. But there was some darkness that I felt, and it was definitely the loving universe getting my attention to go, let's do this. And I went through it and I surrendered. And that was probably the biggest transformation ever. It was like, and then since then, Raphael, like miracles have been happening all over. Okay, I got engaged not long, like I think within 2 weeks. My significant other, who's my husband now, he even transformed, but that's a different story. We got engaged. I mean, so many amazing things have happened since. So, so worth it. So worth it. You know, friendships have even deepened. Family members, I'm getting, you know, reestablishing my relationship with them. So a lot of great outcomes.
It's amazing how all the bullshit gets out of the way, right? When you just surrender to just love or surrender, period, right? Like a lot of stuff that seemed to matter before just don't matter anymore, right?
It really doesn't. When you trust to know that you're being guided in the right direction, and if things doesn't work out, like you have a plan to go in this direction, but it goes here, you just trust that you're supposed to go here because it's going to get you in the best direction. But as humans, we want so much certainty, right? And so that kind of screws us up sometimes.
Yeah, and I love how I've always since I've met you, that first time that I met you in that mastermind in the pod, that first conversation that we had with Alice, and that was an amazing conversation. I don't know if you remember that.
I felt like everything just stood still because we were all like, it was you, it was Alice and you, and we were all like at all, like, because we were all kind of at the same place. And isn't that beautiful how the universe kind of works its way and brings all of us together? We were in the same, our journey was a little different, but we all felt like we're in the same place.
Yeah, and we didn't know each other. I think that's why I felt
like
yeah, I felt like, you know, what you're feeling, that you know, like time stood still. I guess you're articulating what I felt too. Like I didn't know how to say it, but I think that's how what you just said. And I think it was the fact that for me it was amazing. It was like, I don't know these people, and wow, like we are connecting in this way, and there's just so beautiful souls. Like I met. We had 8 people in our group, right? In that small group, or 7 people in that small group. And the first call was us 3, and I was like, oh my God, this is such an amazing call. Like these people are so amazing.
And it was just supposed to be us 3 at that moment, and then everybody else that joined was amazing also. But I remember going to bed so freaking excited that night because I'm like, I've met my soul family. It was just really cool. It was cool.
It is. It's amazing how like everything kind of like clicks together, right? Everything kind of like clicks, and and you can tell, I guess. I I guess one of the things that I'm curious about, because I kind of like feel the same way that you're talking about. Like we surrender, but we want certainty, right? But it's not. You have to trust. We really have to trust that if it's not going where we think it should go, whatever it is that we're talking about, that it's just because there's a reason, right? There's a reason why it has to happen that way. And if we stop fighting and we just trust it, and we stop fighting, trying to, because it's like what we say. In Spanish, there's and I think in English too, there's a saying. It's like whatever God wants, right? Like whatever God wills, I guess it is, or like it's whatever God wants, right? But then we say it, but then we say it and we're like, whatever God wants, as long as it's this and this and this and this, right? As long as this happens, or this other thing happens.
We make conditions and we micromanage it. I want this person, but they got to be this and this and this. What if we just say we want the right person that's going to freaking make us happy and we're going to grow with, and that's going to be for the highest of good, whatever that means. No. Yeah, I learned when I feel some resistance towards what I think the universe is leading me towards, because it might be different than what I want. So this plan's not working. Then I feel like there's some resistance because there's some fear behind it. So then I go in my room and go, what am I afraid of? What's behind this fear? And then I just remove those layers and then ask more questions. What does this mean? What is the truth? What is the truth? And I kind of drill it down until I feel some peace in my body, and then I go. But yeah, if I feel any resistance, I try to be conscious of why I'm feeling that. It's got to be some type of fear behind it.
Okay, so that's one of the tools that you use. You start asking the questions. Do you to get to that room? Do you meditate, or what? How do you do it? Like,
I'll tell you one thing that I do. So I thank it for showing up. So it's usually an uncomfortable feeling, right? So wherever I feel that, and I do a lot of this with people that I coach. So wherever I feel that uncomfortable feeling, which for me, it's usually right here, I just close my eyes. Yeah, sometimes I'll take a few deep breaths to get in more of a out of the beta brain, more in a theta or alpha stage, where the monkey mind's not going to try to. And I just thank you for showing up. And I go, what do you want to tell me? And I just let it come through. And then if I need, and then I go, what else? And then until I feel peace in my body, then, I'll keep asking. And then once I feel the peace, then I'm good. And then I send it love. And that's how I do it.
Wow. Oh, so you just, it's amazing how you're able to, how you're able to. So when you're asking that question, when you feel that peace in your body, to let that go, you have to be in some sort of state, right? Like, do you get in kind of like a state, not necessarily of peace, but just like letting everything be okay with how it is, even if it's uncomfortable, and just getting there? I guess my question is, when I'm trying to visualize what I would think is my room that you're talking about, right? Like you say, your room. I usually get there meditating, right? Like I usually get there meditating, and if it's during the day, I like something that Eckhart Tolle says, like mini meditations, right? I try to do like kind of mini meditations and start breathing from the heart, and just trying to, sometimes just 5 minutes, just breathing from the heart, and it gets me to that center place again.
That way, one way, before I even started meditating, I would just get an image of what I thought God was, or representation of it. It could be the mountains, it could be nature. And I would get really still in my mind. And I guess this was meditation that I wasn't calling it this. And then just get an image of that, and then wait till a spontaneous thought which was love, come through. So that was how I first started doing it. And then I started doing it like this. But once you build the muscle and then you start trusting what's coming through, you can do it kind of quickly without
Mm-hmm.
doing a 15-minute meditation. So
Yeah.
I'll even write sometimes in acts, I call it my support system. So it could be angels, God, whatever. Um, and I'll go, okay, what about this? And then I'll let it come through, and I don't question it. And it's pretty amazing what comes through. So, and I'm not anybody special. Anybody can do this. You just have to trust that you can, because anybody can. I
Yeah.
promise. You just have to get out of the left brain, out of the high beta. So yeah, I when it's the truth, Raphael, it gives me peace.
Mm-hmm.
And it's usually not anything like la la. It's really simple and stuff that we already know internally.
Mm-hmm. I love how you have names. You have names for so many things, like your support system. You call it your support, which is awesome. Because it really does get you to kind of like visualize it, right? It helps
Yeah.
visualize it inside, because all this is going inside. It's not something that's tangible that's going on. Like
Yeah.
we start feeling when we stop looking out there for reasons or answers or anything like that.
So much peace. And then you go, I don't have to Google every freaking thing. I can just ask. Like, oh my God. Okay, what about this? Oh, okay. Seriously, you'll get addicted to like asking yourself.
Yeah, well, you know what? You have names for everything. You should call it like Frugal, like Francine Google, right? You should be just
Yeah.
asking. Yeah, that's it. You don't have to go online.
Yeah, anytime that you're getting like I get hit, I don't know if you get like this, the monkey bullshit comes at 2 o'clock in the morning for me.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like going, oh, you are this and that, or you're not good at, all of that crap. And it tries to mess with me. And that's when it happens. So without this tool, I would be in torment all night long. And
Mm-hmm.
lots of nights like that where it was just a lot of torment, um, because of those outside thoughts that are really not us, right? They're not.
Mm-hmm.
And because we can observe them. That's one reason why we know we can observe the freaking thought. So now having this tool, I can shut it down and get the truth, which is always it's always loving.
Yeah, and that's when I guess like what you're saying is when it's the truth, you just know, right? It's like when you get to that place where it's just like peace, and you know that okay, this is I don't have to look for anything else right now, right?
Right.
I'm sorry about that. But I did. It happened to me the other day. I went up to Dallas for New Year's Eve and to take my daughter to the airport. She was going to Puerto Rico. She was flying off of Dallas, but flying out of Dallas, and it was that night that it just for some reason I couldn't sleep, and it was just basically that whole night was doing the way I do it is like I'm trying to get into the like breathing from my heart, and then it automatically it gets to a point where it gets me out of my head, right? And so like the thoughts and whatever that monkey brain, monkey mind, it gets me out of that because I'm in my heart now, right? Talking about that, talking about heart and heart and brain and mind. Have you done any work with like energy work or like with chakras or anything like that, or energy field or however you?
I have been in different workshops and different coaches, but and just kind of putting like that bubble and that shield, especially when I do workshops. Um,
Mhm.
there was one that I did for like a 2-day workshop in the next week because I didn't protect my energy. I was like just totally drained. So I am not an expert by any means in it, but I do know a little about it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and the reason I ask is because, I mean, I'm not an expert. We're all learning here. I feel like everybody's learning here. I sometimes feel like, if I, if it gets to a point where I think I'm an expert at something, I got to relook at it because I'm probably missing something.
That's true. That's good.
But but I guess the reason I asked that question is because I feel like a lot of what you're talking about feels like energy, right? Like that energy, moving energy, and just getting rid of the heavy energy, right? And just letting it go.
Mm-hmm.
Letting go. And I think that you're such in flow. That's your flow that you talk about so much, right?
Yeah, that was a thing for like the last 3 months. It was like yours was surrender, and then I like kind of stole it, and then
you stole it.
and I'm like, I need to surrender to be in the flow. So yeah, flow was just for me being okay with just being in the moment, being in the now, and um yeah, not being so much in the future or in the past, but being okay with now. And that's where the flow happens. And the flow is the shit. The flow is awesome. That's when I'm creative work done and where I'm at peace and I'm having fun.
And you can tell that you're in that flow, my friend. You are, like, you can tell. Those calls, yeah, the calls that we have, and like the lives that you do, and I don't know, it's everything about it. Like that last call that we had on Monday, you had some great insights for somebody that was sharing. I don't want to say the name, but somebody else sharing, going through a lot of great things. But it's like, why am I still like looking for, right? Why am aren't I supposed to be like completely happy now? And right, but you had some amazing insights because you had been going through them, right? You could relate to it.
Yeah. When big change happens, upset happens, and we had a master coach kind of share that, and it is true. Even if it is great change, if it starts happening right, there's going to be some upset. So, like I said earlier, a lot of amazing things are happening in my life and manifesting more than I've ever seen. And a lot of it, like I said, was because I surrendered. But then you go, well, I should be this happy. Okay. And there are those moments where I peak to that. But then there's some moments where there's a lot of confusion because my brain is trying to catch up. And so, and that all of that is okay. And you'll get to that point. But what we were told was just, be okay with where you're at and just let it come. So.
And I feel like that present moment that you're talking about, just being in that present moment, being in that flow, it gets you there because if you think about it, feelings are it's still part of that ego, right? It's still part of the ego. Those emotions and those feelings, like when you're able to kind of like like you said, just like understand that it's gonna show up and that it's okay, that it's supposed to be showing up, and that you're fine with it, and just surrender to it, and just being in that present moment, then that ego can't use that emotion or that I thought that I should be feeling this way or whatever. Right?
That's so good, Raphael. Exactly. Yeah. That's true.
Yeah. Well, I am so grateful, and I want to respect your time because I know that it's already, we started a little late, so I don't know how much time you have. And for the people that didn't know this, that because we didn't record that part, but I spent like 5 minutes with the friends. I had like Francine waiting for 5 minutes before we started, just working with the audio and all this stuff. I'm not that great at tech stuff, and obviously I said before, my daughter wasn't here, but I am so grateful for having you in my life right now, and for the mastermind. for the mastermind and for being able to have met you and to work with. Anything that you think, hey, I should ask Rafael, let me know. There's no way that I'm gonna say no to it.
So great, my friend. Such a beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You too. And so before we finish or anything, is there anything that you feel you just want to get out there for people that are watching? I mean, you've already said so much, and this insight that you had that time, and that we just brought up, that when good things are happening, right? But something, upset still gonna come. But anything that you feel, I don't know, anything that you might feel, you have so many great insights. So
Yeah,
every time we talk,
it came to me just now as you're asking. One thing that popped up was hope, and a lot of people don't have hope because they can't see the end of the tunnel. They can't see anything. It's all foggy, and I've been there. Just trust the process. Just trust, because there's so many beautiful things. I don't care if you're at the lowest of low, and I know people that have been there and that have just freaking transformed. And we all are entitled to have an amazing life on this journey, and you're not just thrown some type of, this. Some people have this belief that they should suffer. This is, I'll get to the other end and it'll be all good. No, you're not. No one is meant to suffer here. No one. So everything is meant to be. So just trust the process and just go through it, because that fog will lift up and you will see your freaking potential. And that's it.
That's so amazing. I really I appreciate you being here. I really appreciate you. Again, I love you. I'm saying this to him and they'll say, like, but yes, I so acknowledge your like, I feel like you're such a beautiful soul, and what you're doing is I'm so excited to see what happens with this Alliance of Love and with everything else that you're going to be doing. And I know that it's needed. And if there's anybody that, out of the ego, or any ego that is a great ego to do this, is you. It would be you. So, I don't know if that makes any sense, but well, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Francine. And hey, where can people find you? The Alliance of Love on Facebook, right?
Yes, go to Facebook. It's a private group, and it's Alliance of Love, and just join, and I will definitely accept you. So do that. But or you can just find me at Francine Favret. Or yeah, I'm gonna be changing my website to my new last name soon, so I won't confuse everybody and throw up that other name.
but until then, they can find you at Francine Matthew, right? Or no, Francine Matthew.
Yeah, right now my old website is still up. We haven't made the change with the new name, and it's Matthew, Mathiew. So right now, yeah, if you want to find out more about what I'm doing, I have a lot of blogs out there and a little bit more about my coaching, and also do workshops, and I'm part of the Fire Sister group, and that's what I do. So yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Francine. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. And yeah, have a wonderful night.
Thank you.
Bye bye.